I'm Rick Harp. This is your APTN News Brief for Tuesday, February 20th. A family's 3.5-year wait for justice has come to a conclusion. In January, Jordan Morin pled guilty to aggravated assault, endangering life in the death of 22-year-old Cileana Taylor. And on Friday, Morin received his sentence. APTN's Annette Francis was at the courthouse.
I'm outside the Court of Justice in Peterborough, where Jordan Morin received a sentence of 4 years in prison with time served. He'll do 550 days. Morin was convicted of the 2020 beating of Taylor. She quickly fell into a coma and died in February 2021 when taken off life support. The Crown and defense were both seeking 4 years. Taylor's family was still disappointed with the outcome. They held out hope Justice Jennifer Broderick would impose a stiffer sentence. The maximum sentence for an aggravated assault endangering life offense is 14 years, but Broderick stuck with the plea bargain. Cileana Taylor is Selena's sister. She's shocked with the sentence.
In 550 days, Jordan Morin gets to get out and go live life as Jordan Morin. Even though the suffering of 4 walls cut his time in half, he doesn't know the feeling of living inside a coffin. And in 550 days, women are going to see him out and about.
Krista Bigcanoe has been representing the family. She'd hoped victim impact statements from family and chiefs presented in court earlier this month would have made a difference.
In this case, we had Curve Lake First Nation come and make an impact statement, and 7 of the Anishinaabe chiefs wrote a joint statement that was shared by Chief Kelly LaRocca that explained exactly how we feel as people. And I mean, it feels like we're singing the same song years and years later. And I think there's been a little progress. The judge could have granted or sentenced more of a reduction, and she didn't. So there's a little progress here, but it'll never be enough for the family that's lost someone that was this beautiful and kind-spirited as Selena.
Annette Francis, APTN National News, Peterborough.
There appears to be disagreement between the Assembly of Manitoba chiefs and the Manitoba NDP about the party's promise to search a Winnipeg area landfill for the remains of Indigenous women. At a press conference last week, Premier Wab Kinew said he was confident a search would happen this year.
We are going to work with the families along the way and Indigenous leadership, in this case, namely the Assembly of Manitoba chiefs. We're also going to be there to support the families through what I expect will be a difficult next few months. And this work will continue. I think that we have a responsibility to ensure that our communication happens first and foremost with families and with Indigenous leadership prior to the public.
But following the Premier's comments, the Assembly claimed neither the province nor federal government have responded to an operational report they submitted last month. An overview of the search process, the AMC report indicated a search could begin in October, were funding from both levels of government to be in place by February 1st. That has yet to happen. All 3 bodies of Mercedes Myron, Morgan Harris, and the as yet unidentified Buffalo woman are believed to be in the Prairie Green landfill north of Winnipeg. Meanwhile, the Manitoba government has issued its decisions on a pair of controversial silica sand projects, rejecting one, approving the other, the latter falling within the territory of Hollow Water First Nation. Sav Jonesa has more.
Bad news came to a land offender camp in a Manitoba First Nation just a day before their 5th anniversary. The provincial government has given the green light to a silica sand extraction project they've been protesting against.
I just try and remember that this particular cause has only been for 5 years that we've been fighting it, but oppression and colonialism has gone on for over 400. This particular situation just goes to show how much work there is left to do.
MJ McCarran is a member of Camp Morningstar, a group set up in Hollow Water First Nation that's opposed to the silica mine planned to open there. Located about 2.5 hours north of Winnipeg on the eastern shore of Lake Winnipeg, she says the location is essential to Hollow Water First Nation and surrounding communities.
Well, the problem is that it's right in our community. It's like within meters of where people live. It is also on our community trap line. And it's kind of like, if you try and imagine it, it's like what Central Park is to New York.
She says the project brings up health concerns. Silica dust is a carcinogen. Camp Morning Star filed 2 appeals to stop the project last year, but they were dismissed. The proponent for the mine is Canadian Premium Sand. They plan to use the silica sand to make solar glass panels in Selkirk, Manitoba. But Provincial Environment and Climate Change Minister Tracy Schmidt says the government has listened to Camp Morning Star's concerns and says they've been addressed.
We understand that, any development like this one will have people that champion it and people that oppose it. We expect that, and we appreciate the concerns, but we're quite confident that the proposal put forward by the proponent and the conditions that have put into the license, we will be able to effectively manage, mitigate, and remediate any of those environmental risks and concerns.
Earlier, Manitoba stopped another silica project east of Winnipeg because the extraction method would dig through aquifers and could contaminate water for 100,000 Manitobans. Sav Jonza, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Still in that province, it's reported the Red River, which flows through the capital city northward into Lake Winnipeg, has untreated sewage leaking into its waters. Now, Treaty 1 chiefs say they're concerned about potential contamination of the lake. Since February 7th, a total of at least 160 million liters of sewage have ended up in the river. The source, a leaky pipe, an issue the city identified as problematic back in November. In a press release, Broken Head Ojibwe Nation Chief Gordon Bluesky says poor infrastructure is to blame. He says the sewage has hindered traditional livelihood practices and stressed the need for a proactive response. The City of Winnipeg had not responded to our request for comment prior to broadcast. To Nunavut, where the government has asked the RCMP for assistance with an open investigation into a care home in Chesterfield Inlet. Known as Naja Isabel, a facility for people with disabilities, it's now the subject of multiple investigations into a series of reported critical incidents, including 3 patients' hospitalization, 2 of whom later died. And along with that of the RCMP, investigations have been opened by the Department of Family Services and Nunavut's representative for children and youth. No further details of the incidents have been made available, but the territory says affected families have been notified. Speaking of Nunavut, the Transportation Safety Board of Canada has released its report on a fatal 2021 helicopter crash there. The crash, which took the lives of 3 passengers, occurred on Griffith Island, about 10 kilometers south of Resolute Bay, due to a loss of visual reference during sudden whiteout conditions. The Safety Board determined such incidents are twice as likely to involve those helicopters with less stringent requirements for low visibility conditions. It recommended Transport Canada demand better standard procedures of commercial operators and technological enhancements, including those required under low visibility. And that's your APTN News Brief for Tuesday, February 20th. I'm Rick Harp.